Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another Battle to the Death for you. Today we have the Spyderco Para 3 versus the Spyderco Sage 5. I'm aware that this comparison has been done other places on YouTube. I'm doing it for a couple reasons. First of all, Shortcut Reviews, very nice guy, was nice enough to send me a Sage 5. Mostly because in almost every live show, you guys ask about how I feel between these two, and I've always said I don't know because I haven't had a Sage 5. He was nice enough to send it to me, so I'm going to comply with his wishes and yours and do this little comparison, and it is pretty interesting. I haven't watched a lot of the other ones. I think I watched one like a year ago, and I don't really remember what the outcome was. I think it was Cedric and Ada maybe did it, so this is going to be my opinion, what I would choose between these two. And there is a clear winner, I will say that. I'm not going to wuss out and make it a tie. These are very similar knives. I am using the Spyderco Para 3 in the S110V Blurple variant, which is $159.22, which is $10 more expensive than the $149.50 Sage 5. The Para 3 does come in other variants. It comes in a $130 version with S30V, which is the same steel as this, but that's not the one I have on hand. And you know, the Para 3 comes in so many variants. When you're going to do a comparison, you kind of just got to pick one. So I picked the one that's $10 more expensive instead of the one that's $20 cheaper. When that is applicable, I will reference that. I will point that out. But in most ways, the steel and stuff isn't that applicable. It's only one category that is really applicable. So let's get moving. How does this go? We do a 7 category thing. Everybody gets 1 point, wins one category. We add them up at the end, and there will be a winner. We have design and aesthetics. We have quality. We have blade, ergonomics, carry, deployment, and value. All right, and now we're going to do some stats before we get going too much farther. As I said, this is the $159 version of the Spyderco Para 3. The standard version is $129 something. This is the S110V Blurple. You can get it in a whole bunch of versions as far as prices go because they made it in a bunch of different steels. We'll talk more about that later. A bunch of different handle materials. It's been done in a whole lot of versions. So overall length 7.27 inches. By the way, most of these are going to apply to all the versions. The weights may vary slightly by like tenths of an ounce, but that's it. Overall length of 7.27 inches. Blade length of dead on 3 inches. Blade thickness 0.15 inches, handle thickness 0.45 inches, and a weight of just 3 ounces. Pretty light. Next up, let's look at your Sage 5. You have slightly shorter overall length of 7.2 inches, microly longer blade. They listed at 3.03. I still measured it dead on 3 inches, so who knows. Blade thickness 0.12 inches, handle thickness 0.43, and just a bit heavier at 3.2 ounces. Now let's get into our scoreable categories. First up is design and aesthetics, which is mostly how it looks and if there's any cool features the other one doesn't have. To me, this is an easy win for the Sage 5, and I will do a lengthy explanation why later, but mostly it's because I think it just looks way better. I think that the Sage 5 is a good looking knife. It only comes in this one configuration in this, which is just this carbon fiber over G10 that the Taichung, Taiwan plant is so fond of doing. This is made in Taichung, Taiwan, by the way. The Para 3 is made in Golden, Colorado. We'll mention that a lot as we go on here. But I like the look of that. Some people get really offended that it's not carbon all the way through, but this isn't a horribly expensive knife. It ain't cheap, but $150, it's fine. It's totally fine that it's carbon fiber over G10. It doesn't bother me a bit, and I like the look of the peel ply finish they do on here. I know some people don't like it. I always have, but I think the reason why this looks better is this knife was designed to be this size. It's a ground up. From the second they started sketching it out, it was going to be, a 3-inch blade knife. Whereas the Para 3 tried a lot to be a smaller Para 2, which is what it is. It's a smaller PM2, paramilitary 2, Para 3 PM2. It's kind of confusing, but they want it to just be a smaller version of that knife for places where you can only have a 3-inch blade, which awesome. Great idea. But it looks like a shrunken PM2. And the PM2 ain't gorgeous. But it looks better than this. Like, this just looks, I don't know. I hate using car analogies. I always do. But, I think AMC Gremlins are kind of cool in a weird way. But this is kind of an AMC Gremlin looking thing. It ain't pretty. I just don't. It looks shrunken. It looks weird. The proportions have always looked odd to me. This lanyard hole especially looks ridiculously oversized and is a big problem, which we'll get to later on. But I think just design aesthetics-wise, easily, even though this comes in a bunch of different colors, bunch of different configurations, you can get it with a black blade, you can get it with a couple different color handle scales, you can get Digicam, all that stuff. If you're into that stuff and that floats your boat, fine. But I think on even terms, this is just a much better looking knife. It looks like it was designed this way. This looks like a compromise, and it kind of was. So I see why, but yeah. I don't care what color you put on this. I don't care what dress you put on the Para 3. She ugly. That's just my opinion. I really don't like the look of it at all. Where the Sage 5, it's not like a drop-dead gorgeous knife, but it looks fine. So pretty clear win in the first category to the Sage 5. Quality. This is interesting. This is the third in a row of these Spyderco versus Spyderco comparisons I've done that were Taichung versus Colorado. And usually I always say the Taichungs are better because the Taiwanese, as a rule, the Taiwanese Spydercos, that's where all the really expensive stuff is made, and they do a great job. Beautiful factory. And this is no exception. It's very well made. I have no issues with it whatsoever. Quality-wise, it is perfectly great. Just zero issues. But Golden Colorado has made a ton of PM2s and Para 3s. And they know what they're doing, and I don't know. It's a compression lock. They always do a little bit better job with the compression lock, in my opinion, in Golden Colorado because they make so many of them. And I think this is the first of those three where I'm going to say I think this is just a small amount better in quality. And it's not in anything I can identify. I can point out a thing. They both have great blade centering. They both work fine, lockups fine, all that stuff. It's just, it has that unquantifiable, unexplainable, it just feels like more of a quality piece in your hand. It's really hard to describe. This doesn't feel like a cheap knife by any stretch of the means, or the imagination, that's the word I'm looking for, but this just feels like a nice quality thing in your hand. And I think you can just chalk it up to the experience of that Golden Colorado has made a million of these, and they know what they're doing making a compression lock knife, where Taichung does some, but not nearly as many as Golden Colorado does. And I think that's just the only real difference. It's just a small little unquantifiable thing. Some fit and finish stuff is a bit nicer on this than it is on the Para 3, but it's just, I don't know. And the stuff that is nicer is tiny. Like I like that. I like the finish on the blade a little bit better, but like I said, this just feels like a more solid chunk. I've been playing with both of these all day long, trying to decide this category, and it was tough. But I gotta say, surprising to myself, I'm gonna give it to the Golden Colorado made Para 3. All right, the blade. This one is going to take some explanation also, and I apologize for the long-windedness of this, but I like the blade shape on this. You have thinner blade stock, both almost identical thickness behind the blade. They're both about 21 thousandths behind the edge. Sorry, about 21 thousandths behind the edge. You have thicker blade stock on the Para 3, thinner on the the Sage 5. I think this is a slightly better slicer. This isn't far off, though. It's still a pretty decent slicer. It's not bad. But I'm going to give the win to the Para 3 in this. Why? Because the Para 3, one of the advantages you get with a Spyderco made in Golden Colorado is it's going to come with a million different variants, different steels, different everything. But the steels, you can get this. This is the S110V. As I said, the $159 version. There's $129 with S30V, same steel you get here, which makes it a bit cheaper than this. And you get, but you can also get, there was a Maximat, there was a Crew Wear, there's an M390 on Bento Box. There's all kinds of stuff between the between dealer exclusives and sprints, this knife's only been out for like a year, and there's already, I don't know, 7-8 variants of it. So you and the pricing on the sprints and the dealer exclusives isn't that much more. I mean, I saw one the other day, I think, like the Crewwear carbon fiber one, I think it's still like, maybe it's horribly expensive, maybe I'm wrong, but I wanted to say it was a couple $100, something like that. It may be more than that. But anyway, if you shop around for some of these dealer exclusives, they're not that much more. Like, and if you shop around and get the one you want, you can kind of choose your own steel. And that's a really important thing. And both of these are really good blades. I think this blade shape is a little better for EDC. I think this one's a little better for harder use. But just the fact that you can kind of, in a way, if you shop around, choose your own blade steel, you got to give the win to the Para 3. I'm probably way off on my prices I was just quoting, but I do know that looking at Para 3s and looking at some of the custom ones, they're not that much more expensive. Some of the dealer exclusives aren't that much more expensive than this $159 one, and you get really cool steel. I love the S110V. If you're just going to compare these two to these two, I like the S110V a lot better than I like S30V. So just comparing these two to these two, still this one has better steel. And if I didn't like the steel, I could probably find something else. So went on the blade, based mostly on just the fact that you can kind of pick your own adventure as far as steel goes, to the Para 3. Ergonomics. Para 3 is good. It's better than I expected, honestly. I expected this to be kind of a catch and release because I love my PM2, but I didn't really imagine it was going to be much better if it was smaller. I can fit, again, these are large size hands but skinny fingers. Can fit all 4 fingers down here still. Choking up, it feels great. It's really good. No hot spots or anything. This doesn't have a stock clip on it. We'll get to why in a moment, but even with the stock clip, it's still, there's no real hot spots. It's fine. But the Sage 5 is exquisite. It feels great in my hand. I like the feeling of this carbon fiber over G10 peel ply stuff better than I like the feeling of that G10. That's just me. And again, same thing I said before about the blade for EDC stuff. I think this is fine. If you're harder use, you might prefer to have that grippier G10. This isn't slippery by any means, but this is a little bit grippier. Both have really great jimping, but this thing just, especially when you're using it in this forward choil hold, which is what I like in knives this size, it just disappears in your hand. It's great. If you want to hold it in more conventional hold, still have room. Not quite as much as I have on the Para 3, but darn close. It's just, the ergonomics on this are just outstanding. Where this is pretty good, the ergonomics on the Sage 5 are just great. Carry, not a close category. Sage 5. Why is that? As I said, this has an aftermarket clip on it. I've railed on this a bunch of times about the PM3. This is an $18 Casey Lynch deep carry clip. Other companies make deep carry clips for it. All the other ones will cover up that lanyard hole a bit. But because of that lanyard hole, that ridiculously oversized lanyard hole, and where they chose to put the pocket clip, this is the stock pocket clip. We're going to roll it over here to do this to show you. I didn't bother to screw them in for the review. Look at that. This is how much knife is sticking out of your pocket on this thing. That is insane. For a 3-inch knife to have 3/4 of an inch of the blade or of the handle sticking out of your pocket, that's ridiculous. It's unforgivable in my opinion, and I will maintain to the day I die, if you buy a Para 3, unless you have some insane amount of tolerance for knives sticking out of your pocket, you got to get a deep carry clip for it. It's like an automatic purchase. When you order it, you might as well just order the clip at the exact same time because you're going to want it. And that's just unforgivable. It's a thing that Spyderco does with a lot of knives now. It's not just the Colorado guys. The Rhino I reviewed was from Taichung. It's possibly even worse. It's just, I don't know why they invented the pocket clip and they've forgotten how to properly place them on a knife because they're so in love with putting these lanyard holes on, which, at most, 10% of the people who buy these put lanyards on them, and because of that, we have to have this giant lanyard hole that messes everybody else up. I hate it. Whereas on the Sage 5, very small lanyard hole off to the side, still plenty usable enough, still enough if you want to have a lanyard on there and have your beads on there and all that crap. You completely do it. It's got the nice wire clip, deep carry clip. I love the wire clip. I know there are a few people that don't like it, but I love it. I think it works great. Super light, very efficient, simple solution. Infinitely better pocket clip on this. And even if they did have equal pocket clips, which they certainly do not, you can still see this is a little less tall. And you said that one spot that sticks up high. I just think it's still, even with a deep carry clip on it, this is a little easier to get my hand by. Weight and handle thickness and all that aren't really enough of a difference to matter. But I still find this just a bit easier to get my hand past than I do on the Para 3, even with the aftermarket clips. So there's that. Now, deployment. Normally, this is almost always an easy win. When you're talking about compression locks, it's almost always an easy win for Golden, Colorado, because they know how to do compression locks a lot better than Taichung does. I don't know. I know there's some kind of difference inside there. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But every compression lock I've gotten from Taichung, which they don't make a lot, is always just a bit stiffer. It's not quite as drop-shutty, fun, smooth as the Para 3. This is the best one I've had. I will say I did adjust it a bit. Sorry, shortcut reviews. I did adjust it when I got it. But it is completely drop-shutty now, still perfectly centered, no blade play, all that. It is very nice and drop-shutty, and it works great. Definitely the best compression lock I've seen on a Taichung, and it's really good. It's definitely really good. You can deploy it any of the Spyderco ways you choose to, but still, this is just incrementally smooth. Excuse me. Gosh, that came out of nowhere. My first on-air hiccup. We've all experienced it together. Let's hope I don't get many more. This is just better. It's just really drop-shutty. You can still deploy it all those ways. It's just a small amount better. I sat and flicked these for like an hour trying to figure out which one, and this is just a little bit better. Not as much. Not as much better. Great sentence, Brian. It isn't. I thought it was going to blow it out of the water. It doesn't. It's close, but this is just a little bit better on the deployment. There's just going. I don't even know how many compression locks have come out of that factory, but there's been a ton, and they know what they're doing. Value. This is a bit of a tougher one because, as I said, this comes in so many versions, and some of them are outstanding values. I'm glad I have this one because as far as production ones go, if we're not talking a sprint run or a dealer exclusive or distributor exclusive or something like that, I think production-wise, for the Para 3, this is the best value. I feel the same way about the PM2. The Blurple S110V combo is the best value. You're getting a genuine super steel for $159 in this particular case, which is not bad at all. But you got to buy the clip, and I'm going to maintain that. This is not a $159 knife. This is a $170 knife by the time you go out and buy a clip for it. Where this is $150. S30V, still perfectly good steel. I think it looks better, and I have to give the value to the Sage 5. I think it's a better buy. I'm not quite sure why, but just in my head, I just feel like this is a bit of a better buy. There is a bit of prestige that comes with the Taichung, Spyderco. If you're a collector nerd, it doesn't come with a flaw that you have to fix. So I think it's mostly that. This doesn't come with a flaw I have to fix, so I have to give value-wise to the Sage 5. I take it out of the box, throw it in my pocket, and never change a thing about it. With this, immediately I'm going to be changing it. And that frustrates me to no end. So value-wise, got to say the Sage 5, which gives the Sage 5 a 4-3 victory. And for me personally, a guy who mostly is just kind of an EDC kind of guy, I don't have a heavy-duty job. I cut up a lot of cardboard and stuff, packing bikes and stuff like that, but I'm not a, construction worker. I'm not in law enforcement, anything like that. So for me, for EDC kind of stuff, I think the Sage 5 is a better decision. That said, if you are a guy who does heavier duty stuff, I could totally see going to Para 3. It is a bit heavier duty knife. It's got a little bit thicker blade stock. It does feel like a more robust piece in your hand. It is a bit grippier. I could see going for the Para 3. I could totally get it. I'm never going to say you're a moron if you choose that, if you choose it over the Sage 5. It's just know that it doesn't cost what it says. It costs $20 more than that, because you got to get a deep carry clip for it, in my personal opinion. So this has gone on for quite a while. I hope this has been in-depth enough for you, and I hope it has answered that question that you guys always ask me. Now, instead of having to explain, oh, I haven't had to hold the Sage 5, I can send you guys a link, so that's good. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.